This is Sheila Patel. Thank you so much for coming to this event. The whole idea is for all of us to co-create this process. And as you join our bandwagon, that we share what we've done so far, and then we have this conversation that takes this process further.
We launched the Race to Resilience campaign a year and a half ago. And the opportunities very much putting people at the center is exactly what brings us together. We have the purpose, we have the focus, making sure that we identify opportunities for people.
My name is Robert Kay. I am the Arab America's Climate and Sustainability Lead. It's a great privilege to welcome you all in person and virtually to our offices here in New York. We are an employee-owned firm. We choose the work that we do. We also choose those that we work with. And I say that because, of course, that we honor our work with you as an organization, and of course those that are joining us.
This is a situation that is related to justice. This is a failure on the system that we have in terms of development. It's a failure, as expression of failure of geopolitics. And I think that we have to take that into consideration. Honestly, not necessarily about the climate expression of this, but mostly how in the last 2-3 years we have seen an increase of vulnerability, an increase of poverty, an increase of injustice. Can we then map the increase of that vulnerability in order to have a common voice? Because I think that there might be some element here for this brilliant and talented group to be bringing, again, some common voice that will complement not only the discussion on climate, but I would say the discussion and the urgent conversation around the level of development, the type of development that we require as humans.
We are looking for solutions all over the place, but we don't go to these communities. That is where the solutions are. But if you go to every community, they have the way that they address, there's a way that they adapt. And the challenges has always been, how do you take whatever communities are doing in terms of adaptation and amplify? How do you take their solutions and make them better?
Bill Change has already implemented disaster resilient housing programs around the world. We have, again, the systems change level document. We also have a wealth of engineering resources, building codes and guidelines for both disaster resilient new construction as well as retrofitting existing buildings. Again, focus on Asia, Latin America, and Caribbean, but many of the same resources can be applied in other areas.
I'm Director of Programs at Resilience Rising, which is a NGO and consortium of NGOs, including the International Coalition of Sustainable Infrastructure, Resilience First, and a number of other partner organizations working together to build resilience globally. My background is in structural engineering, so the topic of housing and informality is something that's very important for me.
In various communities, we document what people are spending on their housing over time and what is the material they are using. And then using the same inputs, what is the engineering input or design input that can make it better. And I thought that that was a very good place to start, because in my mind, it's not just one pilot. It's gonna have to be many pilots responding to many different situations.
To get to scale, the question is, how do we move beyond piloting processes and particular projects and sites to the scale of significant institutional reform that is required to change the way informality happens? Policy reform has to include this kind of co-development process where people on both sides are at the table redesigning planning beyond the post-colonial frameworks that countries and cities are working with now.
We often talk about scale. I think here, scale is not about scaling a solution, because there isn't a single, silver bullet, but actually scaling an approach. As someone sort of who works in that research action interface is really where I think the research community plays a really important role in supporting that kind of peer-to-peer learning and knowledge management.
And the latest report is that there may be as many as 1.2 billion climate migrants that we have to think of accommodating. So there's the existing settlement, and there are these new settlements that we have to prepare and plan for. To just give a kind of a larger picture, when we come to informal settlements and climate change, there are three levels that we need to consider. First, the level of the household, then the neighborhood of the neighborhood, then the city as a whole. So households in informal settlements face a higher risk from climate change because their health is more vulnerable. They're also more at risk to rising food prices. They have fewer assets to protect themselves during emergencies or to rebuild, and they take longer to recover from disasters. The homes of these households are less able to withstand climate change, and investment in improving them is often compromised by insecure tenure or by the threat of eviction. And the thing that I like about this gathering is this idea of bringing the concerns of these informal settlers to the municipalities so that they can be heard, so that they can become part of the process, so they can be counted as part of the stakeholders, even though they are invisible. And the ones that are even more invisible are the ones that are still not there, are the new informal settlements. And the people who are creating informal settlements, they must be brought in, as Jet was saying, into the planning process. So in terms of solution, is very much in trying to create local capacity at the community level, local capacity at the municipal level, to deal with these issues in simple terms, without complicated investments and complicated methodology.
All of us have worked for 40 years to change government policies, to bring more money to poor communities. And even today, 85 to 90% poor people living informally are designing, constructing, and financing their own homes. Most universities don't have design solutions that are universally available to them. And so through the roof over our heads, we who are working with grassroots movements, and more that we will invite, are encouraging people to do city-level pilots which produce knowledge, data, solutions that they know, and present it to universities, to governments, to private sectors in their own cities. We hope that we become a community of support systems to grassroots communities, to look at ways by which a permutation combination of solutions, intensely local, can be supported by a very nurturing global arrangement that addresses development with a climate lens, that addresses social injustices with robust solutions, and that helps people to move away from their day-to-day survival, loss and damage syndrome into one that is of resilience.